All right, well, why don't we call our meeting to order? This is Monday, March 20th, 2023. This is the Community Preservation Committee meeting. And this is a continuation of our meeting that got Zoom bombed last week. So interesting times. There was no news or mail. Any other member input before we begin?
I guess it probably falls in that other category, so I'll wait for that.
Okay. I left the project eligibility applications on just in case somebody came back. I was kind of hoping the society would have our other estimate, but we don't. So no more projects for this year.
Have you signed for the friends?
Oh, I wanted to see our sign got hit.
How did the car manage to jump the curb and hit the sign?
I know they jumped it, hit the sign and bounced back. There are no tracks. There are no tire tracks on the lawn.
How did he manage to do that?
Weird.
I wish I could have seen it, but
Well, that would be your next project, security cams.
yeah. Yeah, it's at the Fort Rogers Street property. So we were discussing the 3% increase when we were so rudely interrupted last time. So did you have something to say about?
No, actually, it was a different, so future projects, the tennis court renovation is back in the pipeline. So I don't think we're quite ready yet, but they're gathering information between the school department and Park and Rec.
Okay, so we won't run into that speed bump again.
Yeah.
With including the school department as opposed to.
Yeah, right. So this is for renovation of the two existing courts as well as an addition of two courts on the school property. So that's
Will that come for fall, do you think, or that tight?
hopefully. I mean, it would be. They're trying to figure that out. You know, the thought is that they're going to be breaking ground on the senior center August timeframe, probably. So ideally you'd have the courts done before then. That seems challenging at the moment.
Yeah.
So, but certainly to have them done for the next spring season would be, I think, the target.
Is that when tennis season is in the spring?
Tennis is apparently in both seasons.
Oh, okay.
I was not aware.
All right, well, maybe-
For school purposes, we're talking.
High school tennis.
Yeah, high school, yeah, okay.
Okay, we will expect that someday then. So I think what we had started talking, we didn't get very far, I don't think. And again, what we have supposed to be doing is creating the warrant article for the town meeting, or a draft of it to submit for the town to tweak, I guess is the.
Can I have some input on this? I spoke to someone from the town with experience, and his suggestion, which I think is actually a good one, considering some of the pushback is to try for a two-phase approach to the 3% in one package, asking for 1.5% for fiscal year 2025. In the same package, ask for another 1.5% for 2026. So that the whole thing gets proposed at once, something gets passed at once, we hope, but it divides up the increase surcharge for taxpayers in 2 different years.
So for FY 24, we go by.
24, or aren't we in 24? Yeah,
We're gonna be in July.
right, so.
Oh, wait, no, sorry, we're in FY 20,
We're doing the 24 budget now.
yes.
Oh, so maybe it's 24, 25.
No, it's 25, 26.
25, 26.
Okay.
So anyway, I just wanted to put that on the table and so do it incrementally. But as one pack, that is one. Don't go each year asking for it because you might not get the second batch the second year. Go for it all at once, but divide it, surcharge up.
So the proposal would be adding a full percent this year and adding a full percent to get to 3%.
1.5, I guess. 1.5% next year, 1.5% year.
So we're at one,
Well,
we're at
1.9.
1% now. So the
Oh,
increase,
no,
the
you're right,
increase,
you're right.
the increase would be,
1%
would
each,
be,
yes.
the increase could be 1 full percent this year and then an additional full percent in the future. So we would be going from 1 to 2,
We're
and
just,
then from 2 to 3.
so we'll just take longer.
Yeah.
Longer, but it might address people's concerns
Right.
about.
And emphasizing the exemptions that people can ask for to not pay it.
Aren't there some that are happen anyways? I mean, without having to ask one, are there additional ones? I mean, we have the $100,000 exemption,
Yeah, that's automatic.
automatic.
But no, there's no, you have to ask for anything else.
Okay.
So
The income based ones you have to ask
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, so I did get information about that from the assistant assessor. And so the number of folks who last year qualified and who requested and qualified for the exemption was only 6 to 9. That was the number that was provided.
Percent or
No, 6 to
individuals?
9 individuals. That was it. So not very many. Asking for the exception.
Yeah, and that's not very asking. They're clearly minimal qualified.
Correct.
So yeah, I did. So yeah, when we talked about for seniors, just to get it on the record, the 2-person income level to qualify is 112. And for non-seniors, for a family of 4, it's also 112. And
If you are less than it.
Yeah.
if your income is less than that, you qualify for an exemption.
So the 112, the first thing you said about 112 is for seniors?
1 person in the household over 60. And that's a 2-person household. Nobody in the house over 60, a 4-person household is also 112. There's some other, and the whole list is out there, but
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not on this computer, so I can't put it up. That's one disadvantage.
What if it's a 1-person household with someone over 60, right? It wouldn't qualify.
98.
98 times 2.
It would cover a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and
That's
so
fine.
here's the other numbers I looked up, according to the town reports. The average family income. And so it's hard to know because it doesn't give number of people in the household, but under 75,000 a year is 20%. Between 75 and 100 is 11%. Between 100 and 150 is 23%. So there's a good chance that most of those people, or a good number of those people, would qualify for an exemption,
There's like 40%.
somewhere in that ballpark.
And the data that we got was that the town doesn't have that level of information about how many residents are qualifying in a given year, but as Paul just pointed out, rough guesstimate. Yeah.
Right.
So it's depending on the group we're trying to give information to, it's on its own. If that information were out there more and understood, that would hit a large group who might not be too thrilled at this.
On the flip side, a lot of people would qualify for the exemption.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's what I mean.
So people who are concerned about it would qualify for an exemption and not need to pay.
It seems that way, yeah.
And we would lose a lot of revenue. too,
Right.
though. That's that's the other thing, except that if we went up, we would get more.
If we get 2 to 3%, yeah.
3%, and then we would get more from the state too. So if we lost 40% of our revenue, I mean, obviously a lot of people aren't going to. Hopefully, there are some people who would qualify that would not, would see the value of CPA and not exempt themselves, but.
So yeah, that was something we talked about last time as well as so in Harvard was from 1% to 3%. It succeeded at town meeting. I got interrupted. It, let's see, I think one of the things that I also wanted to bring up was in taking a look at the unrestricted general government aid that comes in, or other forms of local aid that might come in. You know, we'll only have the marijuana retail tax for another short time. But is there a way for the town to be, you know, moving away from the, you know, this comes directly and only from the residents as of an increase, but if we were to try to figure out any other way to try to get the town to pay for this from any sort of local aid dollars that are already coming in, because if there can be a way to say, flag that particular money when it's coming in and say that's got to go straight into CPC, is that even possible to be able to do that? So I think that's a kind of question that if we were to meet with FinCom, that perhaps having that out
Is the-
there might raise the question as to, well, where is everything going? Is there any possibility?
Do the water towers in town fund open space?
Cell towers.
Cell towers do.
So there, yes, there's,
Is that cell tower income run through community preservation?
it had been going through there. I don't know if it did during this cycle because there was kind of
A legal thing.
there was a legal thing because we had been putting the cell tower money into its own little bucket, its own fund in town, and apparently it was illegal to do so
Okay.
for many years. So, we're actually looking at creating some special legislation to basically create the fund
Wow.
legally, but I think that's kind of up in the air now. I haven't heard much about it. Otherwise, the open space money is collected, risks being put into the general budget.
Yeah,
So
I
it's-
wonder why you can't just go in, instead of just going in through the special fund, why can't it just go right into the town
C-
fund, into the CPA?
I think it could. It was just a matter of figuring out what was the best option. And I think that was what, like a year ago today? I think we
Yeah.
found out about that.
Yeah. so-
And Alicia was looking into it. Unfortunately, Alicia's,
So are the town lawyers working on the special legislation that you're talking about?
I don't think anything else has been done on it, to be honest with you. 'Cause
Because it seems like they could probably work out
They've been talking
in
about-
legality.
But if we could take that cell tower money before it got dumped into the general fund and get that match, that'd be huge.
I mean, that, because the first town meeting that I remember going to was the vote that the town accepted the cell towers on the condition that all of the revenue from them went to open space.
Mhm.
That was, you know, an emphatic vote at town
Mhm.
meeting.
I remember that.
So, you know, that, I want to see that money keep going to open space. And if
Absolutely.
we can
Do we know what,
multiply it.
know what that amount is?
I don't
It's a lot.
have a
It was quite a
rough,
bit,
Quite a
yeah.
bit.
I had that, what did I have that on?
So would that be considered a blended fund?
that could be considered
Yeah,
a blended
yeah.
fund. I think it was roughly like 180 or 200,000.
It was more than I
So why
thought it
didn't we think of
was.
that before? We could put it in this blended fund.
It had been, it was kind of in the works, it had been
Mhm.
mentioned, but I think we were so focused on creating that special legislation and kind of coming up with a temporary fix. But then it just dropped off the radar over the last year, so it's something maybe we could follow up with the new finance director with.
Mm.
Is there one?
There is already
This is now the fourth one in 6 months?
Yeah,
So if the subcommittee were to meet with FinCom, is it possible to have the new finance person?
That would be nice to
That's a
do
very
that,
good
yeah.
idea.
And I think the other possibilities there are like meals and lodging taxes could be directed.
I don't know, do we have much of that? We have one hotel. Plus.
I looked at a round number and it could be significant.
Really?
Yeah.
From that one hotel?
that hotel brings in a lot of revenue.
Actually, in fact,
I
I
didn't
think
know.
it's in,
Didn't you say like $350,000 or something? It was a lot more than I ever
yeah,
expected.
Yeah.
Do we know if the marijuana tax would be applicable to as a blended fund? 'Cause, I
Because
mean,
they're HCA's, right? So.
so technically, I mean,
I don't
That's-
know, keep looking for
Yeah,
our
that's
finance
another,
guy.
I mean, any source, the town can use anything.
yeah, I mean, those make a killing
Yeah.
tax revenue, so.
And if more people go for the exemption, the revenue comes down, which means we don't have to find as much in blended funds. I mean, it's kind of ironic, actually,
So it kinda
because
works
that's,
in our
I think,
favor.
I think that it's based on, it's but based on what you bring in. Like, so for us, it would be 1% of everyone who isn't exempt. And I think that's the base figure. Maybe Mitt knows. Mitt, does that? No.
No, thanks.
I mean-
Thanks for asking. Just to let everybody know that I'm here. I'm able to follow conversation. Unexpectedly, I was able to make the meeting, so happy to join from home. I wish I were there with you, though.
Hmm. We saved you a seat, but that's okay.
I'll take minutes. Carolyn, I'll take minutes. Are we on item 4?
Yes, we are. I have stuff from before that too, I can share with you.
Okay.
So a figure that I have for end of calendar year, December 30th, 2022, is room occupancy of $85,051.
What year was that?
The end of December 2022.
Oh.
Yeah. So my
six-
guess is that's only for 6 months.
Could be, yeah.
Hmm.
That would be my
Oh.
guess. No, wait, hold on. I think this is quarterly.
Ah,
No,
wow.
Which
Which
gets,
comes out to
which closer to
350.
that, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I think there's just a lot of inquiry that needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and right, and also, you know, that there may or may not be a willingness. I think there is, you know, certainly from the town administration side, their view is that the town is using all of the revenue that they have, and would like to see some more.
Mm,
So I'm not sure that they're, at least that side, you know, I don't, no idea what the select board of FinCom would direct, but in terms of the, you know, there's not much. Now, I think the other side of that is that there are things in the budget now, like they were doing, irrigation wells at a couple of the fields. That seems like a recreation capital improvement to the
Mhm.
field. At the moment, that's coming out of general fund. If it could come out of CPA, then we're saving 30% on that.
Right, if you sort of pre-financed it through CPA.
If you're, so I think that's the other side, is to look closer and make sure that through the budgeting process, we're looking closely at what we're spending and making sure that anything that is eligible to be spent out of CPA funds are being spent that way.
especially if we divert some of the funds that they're using now for maybe a salary, you know.
Right.
Instead of funding a salary, we'd have to fund something like that.
Yeah.
Tennis courts or,
Um,
so would we want to just do a 1% and then say
Everybody has to
to,
weigh in on that.
I don't know, what's that?
I think you could approach, add the maybe 0.5% this fiscal year and then do the 1% in FY 25, did we say? So it would equal, oh, wait, 1.5%.
25. So the one increase for 20, I mean, the one increase for 25 is the earliest we can change anything.
Mhm.
I don't know. I would still be, I mean, maybe we could put it out there as an option that and have both things available. My inclination would be I mean, it gets us more revenue. Yes, that's good. It doesn't get us to 3% unless we're finding other sources of funding. I think we have to have that discussion with FinCom, the select board and others
Mhm.
about that. Yeah, to me, the real advantage is getting to that 3%. And the sooner we do that, the better they're both.
Are you not worried about some of the pushback that we've heard already?
I don't I don't know, it's unclear to me whether a year delay is gonna make any difference.
Well, it means, we raise people's surcharge by 85 and then the next year another 85 or whatever, instead of all at once next year. So it might be more palatable.
It might.
I don't
be.
know.
I don't know.
Is this something that should be raised in the meeting with the FinCom and like as one option, as I'll
Sure.
saying,
Yeah.
see how the FinCom reacts to it, if they're more interested in dividing it up or all at once. And the select board, is that gonna be on that or no? Because you already presented to the select board.
Yeah, but they haven't really weighed in on anything yet.
No, did we get any clarification on the timing in terms of,
No,
okay,
I think they still want us to put something in, and the warrant closes at the end of the week. So I think that's why they want us to submit something to them.
Ooh,
But I think they could put it on they could change it. I think. they
Yeah,
would be
and
able to
it's
change it, So,
the article is a template to the
yeah,
CPA website.
Mhm.
There's,
Yeah, just make it clear to them that we might change it, I guess.
or they might change it.
They might change it.
If this were to go to town meeting and if it were to pass, then there still needs to be a ballot vote, which won't happen until a year from now.
Yes,
correct.
Okay. All right, just want to make sure. that-
yeah, they were still looking for another election, but you can't and you can't have a special election just for a CPA vote. I found that on the coalition website. Yeah, so we can't
Request. that.
request it, and there is no election. I mean, we can't make a state election this year.
So if it has to go to a town ballot, and that's a year from May,
Yeah.
then it doesn't make any difference whether we present at this town meeting or fall town meeting.
I think part of their concern is with the property coming up.
Yeah, the Webster property.
The Webster
Kind of want a
property.
commitment to,
So they want to submit for a grant, but in order to submit for a grant, they need to show that they have a potential funding source for the remainder of the purchase price.
it's usually matching.
And it wasn't entirely clear. I guess we could make that commitment now that we would use
Mm,
existing funds and reserve funds to support that purchase. The question is there enough there?
Yeah, that was my
I know.
question. How much is the purchase price?
1.8.
Yeah,
1.8.
1.5 to 2, somewhere in that.
So we need almost $1 million.
Although we could bond it.
Could buy
Right.
it.
Um,
But then we use all our money, but maybe that's what we want to do, maybe not, I don't know.
So it looks like it's about 476,000 and this was
In the open
in
space,
the open space.
So we don't have it, we can bond it.
we could bond it, right?
But undesignated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is it
As
invested?
designated, we have,
Have anything except housing.
this is like 288,000.
Mhm.
And I
Unfortunately,
don't know how much do we know how much the grant was for?
I feel like it was 700,000.
Okay, so it's in that 700 to $1 million range that we would be looking for.
But the chances of us getting it, I hate to say, because we were recently recipients, is a little.
I know, I think Amy
Iffy.
said she wasn't sure.
Yeah, you didn't think it was because we received other money recently.
Because we just bought the Brown property.
Yeah, and it fell right in.
Yeah,
Well, didn't Sudbury trustees buy the Brown property?
No.
No, they're the conservation holder, right?
well, didn't they say though that there were like 2 grant in is it the map grant that we probably would not get?
There's the land grants and then there's the MVP.
MVP, that's what I was thinking.
Vulnerable. I can never
Yeah.
remember. It's vulnerability preparedness, something like that.
And I was trying to think if Anthony I can't remember now what the conversation was, where they thought they might be able to get another land grant, but probably not the MVP grant.
Hmm.
Because I think they did both of those. Is that the one they did both of those for the Brown property?
I think the MVP was the one of getting the property.
Oh, right, because of the wetlands, right?
I believe so.
I remember one grant for the, but I don't know what it was.
I think it's the MVP if I'm remembering.
Yeah, I think
correctly.
you're right. I think you're right.
So Sal, you're sort of saying we could commit some money potentially, even without putting forth 3% in, the up to 3%
Right.
increase.
Although, I mean, I don't know, we don't have anything in front of us, we don't have,
Right.
so I don't know what that, how we do that with no proposal, no request, no discussion, it's just kind of
Yeah, we really can't.
side story, you know, I don't know what
Right.
we would say, right? 'Cause
Right.
we're generally supportive of that if the rest of the town decides that they want to do that, I don't know. That's about as far as you could go.
Well, it certainly seems like a chicken and an egg.
Yeah.
We had this situation before.
I'm sure we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, well, we had that with the Mary Brown property. I mean, that's how the housing people put money in, because they said the housing trust needs to commit some money so that we can get the grant. So that was, it was all hypothetical, but it did cost us $200K, so.
So basically, the town has to show skin in the game.
Yeah.
And so that could be shown through this 476.
And future revenues that we would bond against, basically.
Right. But like Sal was just saying, we don't have a project before us, we don't have an application, so how would we word it? You know, we could maybe budget and word it somehow.
Did the Brown property come in advance last time of the money?
It did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, that had quite a bit of time before the actual sale, for us to plan and submit for grants and to actually formally apply for CPA monies. This is a little different in that, it's like you said, it's chicken before.
So we just saw Lyle in the parking lot.
Yeah.
In
We should
the
have moved it in
library.
here.
Oh,
So we can haul him up here if you want.
it's probably not legal.
Hire an expert consultant.
Public input.
Yeah.
So, well, it says project in the pipeline Webster land on our.
Oh, yeah,
There you go.
because I knew was gonna be part of this, so. And if that's what they're really concerned about, if we could commit to, commit open space revenue.
I mean, yeah, I think that doesn't have to happen now. I think they're more concerned that if we were to do that, that bucket is then drained for the foreseeable future
Right,
if we don't increase the revenue.
and weren't they saying that they would probably have that like follow on the warrant?
Yes,
Because what they were hoping was that, the CPA surcharge would be increased, and then we could say, now that we've done that, we can afford this piece of property. So if we don't increase it, what are they gonna do with?
That kind of makes me think though, because if we put this forward and it goes to the town meeting and it can be voted on until next spring anyway, the property is still in limbo for another, year and a half.
Except I think they could bond it and then pay it off quicker
and they can do the grant application.
and do, yeah.
And I don't know what happens if they don't get the grants, right? If that's,
Well, it's already getting a grant to do what, an appraisal, is that what it is?
Appraisal, yeah.
It's only like 4,000 to 6,000.
is it a grant or just a fund?
I think it's just funding.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, then I think being able to say, because it's my understanding that the Webster property is going to be going on the town meeting warrant as a, what do you think? Is this
Oh, and
something-
non-binding.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
really?
Yes. So if it's a non-binding on the warrant, this could then go strategically either before or after that. Depending on how it would go.
Maybe that's why they're doing it, though, so that we see what happens with us, and then they can, what everything's like.
It'll give them an idea of
Does ours or should ours, can we make it non-binding if we want, because we don't have an application before us? I mean,
No, I don't think you're talking about the funding being relative, like they wouldn't,
well,
I don't think that,
all right,
because we're not dealing with we're not gonna be dealing with their application at this town meeting. 'Cause
Right.
it's-
Well, that's
None of that
kind of
will
my
take place.
question. How do we word the warrant article if we can't really vote on the project yet?
I think we
There's-
don't worry about
don't worry
the
about
project.
That project is not on our,
So what do you say, what
Well,
would you
no,
say for
but-
the warrant article?
The warrant articles just are increasing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it.
Yeah,
I got it. I
it's
got
two
it.
separate yet behind the scenes
Got
it's connected.
I got it.
So we're back to where we started. You know, do we want to do it in two steps? Do we want to just do one and then get a commitment from the town to increase blended funds? Do we have a couple of things prepared and then when we talk to FinCom, I mean, it's just.
I mean, my sense of it would be to be able to have it. In going to FinCom, my sense of it is to have the staged approach to get to the 3% and see what they say. And what we write something preliminarily that would be the language.
Yeah, they said they'd help us write it, so if we could just, I mean, like you say, it's all a template, and we could probably just look and see what happens last time, and then. Do we then want to try to get them to commit to blended funds for the first year, because we'll still have a percent that we have to worry about.
well, I guess that's the other part is if there's a willingness to commit blended funds either for a year or other, or long-term, then we don't necessarily have to go to 3%.
Right,
So,
with the surcharge.
right,
no,
with the surcharge.
Keeping in mind that blended funds run out at some point, although maybe some of these sources are kind of long term, like marijuana is probably long term, hotel is probably long term.
well, it'd be new, right, the HTA agreements, do they have a stop and start date? Or do they always do they always give revenue?
No, the marijuana is,
Continuous?
yeah, that's a sales revenue.
Mm.
And
That's
cell
sales
tower would be
tax, that's excise
continuous.
tax.
Cell towers continuous, and we
Cell
should probably
towers.
figure that out too, because that's a lot of money sitting around.
That's, we should.
And some of those going to Clean Lakes, wasn't it? Wasn't one of the cell towers going to the Clean Lakes Committee? Do you know if they're getting?
Yes, yeah. It's divided around in a couple of different ways, I think, or
Yeah.
each, a given tower is dedicated to one thing or another.
Right.
But that, like we talked about earlier, that's not really clear anymore.
Mm.
The history is a memory and also if the mechanism is legal or not. We got to figure that out. Sure. I wanted to add something since you appear to be looking for a motion. I'm not going to make a motion right yet, but I do think that a strategy we could use for short, medium, even long term in the run up to town meeting would be to vote tonight to do a 3% and make our wave in that way. And it's an invitation to the taxpayers to elect to do it possibly. And failing that, I don't know, there's many different outcomes that could happen, but if we were sort of forced therefore to pay for the next land purchase with cash out of our funds, draining it, it would force the hand of, like we're talking about, saying, couldn't we find blended funds? If it would really force that process, it would put the heat under them to say, our revenues have been constant all these years and we're back to zero again. We need to do this. It could mean that we'd come around a second time and try it again in a subsequent year if it failed this year. But I think I'd be in support of, and the short-term strategy too is if we vote tonight to do a 3%, we can then pick up the phone and call our friends and say, right now this is just a proposal, but and we're prepared. We have some good things we might say, but we again would need to sort of beat the bushes a little bit if we were serious about it.
And if we took 3% to town meeting floor, it could get amended. And you know that it's gonna get amended.
Yeah, somebody would just walk up to the mic and say, let's go for 2%. That could happen, definitely.
It could get torpedoed in its entirety too, though. I mean,
Right, that's my fear, but I understand why you might want full 3% also.
So the other thing, and I think I briefly mentioned this once before, and that, you know, we're talking about increasing the surcharge to 3% to get to the matching. Kind of what we were talking about before. If there are projects in the free cash budget, the capital budget, that could be funded by CPA that are not currently being funded that way. Yeah, the select board and FinCom or select board, I guess, is really could decide to adjust our revenue to compensate for the increase in the surcharge. Right? They don't have to.
The
Doesn't
tax-
have
the
to be-
tax rate.
The total tax bill does not necessarily have to go up. They can make the decision if we,
Mhm.
you know, if they wanted to reduce the tax bill a little bit to cover some of the difference.
Reduce the standard percentage a little bit, just to, so that it pretty much balances out.
Balances out for, you know, the average or
Yeah.
somewhere in there, and it, you know, somebody may get a little more, somebody may get a little less. Yeah, but it would be more efficient use of our money
Mm.
Right.
because we'd be getting the higher match. You know, no idea what their appetite for that is.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance really to
No,
present that to anybody.
Right.
And it hadn't been suggested at either of the meetings we were at. I don't think.
no.
So will there be a meeting with FinCom folks this week?
Well, it's hard to get 16 people together. It's hard enough to get 6 people together. I don't know if, I haven't heard.
I haven't seen it. I haven't
back
read a response other than, right. So,
yet. Yeah, what did Tyler say?
the last thing was,
He could join in before 6 o'clock. Was he the one that would be before 6?
that was me.
That was you. Oh, Tyler is on the road. We'll try to catch up from the road. If you see a call or a text, it's so we can catch up and come up with a plan. So I haven't heard from him yet. That was just today about 12:30. But it's already,
Saul, this is Mitt. Do you think that what you mentioned, that incremental change in the tax rate would be something that we could present to town hall with our proposed
3%.
increase? You know, if we say this is one of our, it could be a sampler. We could say we would like to increase the tax surcharge with these possible reasons, you know, pick and choose the one that you like and throw your weight behind it with us.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we could have that discussion with FinCom and the select board. Obviously, if they're not interested in that, then it goes nowhere.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't know what the practicality of it is, especially given that, you know, this is going to be set and then go to a vote and then follow on. The budgeting process is the budgeting process. It's, yeah, they could, I suppose, make some sort of commitment at town meeting that that's the direction they will take, but there's nothing.
and then does that get lost in the shuffle too? I mean, they lowered the tax rate last year, but the assessments went up.
Right.
So, you know, then
Well, I
it
mean,
still doesn't help the people.
right. Yeah, there are, I don't entirely follow the process, but
Mm.
essentially there's a determined amount of revenue that they're able to collect.
Right, so
And
they're already doing that.
they're
Right,
doing that.
which
already.
was
And I think,
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, we'll make the tax rate go down. Yeah.
but I think the rate is going down again, but
Mhm,
Assessments are going up even more.
Right.
right. Right, so
Well,
you still.
but- But that wouldn't affect us so much that we'd still get our 3% because it's a surcharge, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was looking to see when the next. I don't know, when the select board is meeting with FinCom. I think there must still be budget stuff going on.
I think
Or have they finished everything?
they're
You
largely
mean tonight?
done. No, it's not, there's nothing tonight.
No, because next Monday, the select board is meeting, but I don't see a FinCom meeting posted, and then Tuesday, the FinCom is, but I don't see a select board meeting posted, so they're not meeting together.
If I recall, the select board approved the proposed budget at their last meeting, but I could be wrong about
Yeah, I
that.
haven't watch it, so.
Um,
But like I say, they have to get everything ready this week. And then Ryan sent me the schedule. In fact, I just, I should check it out. To see when they're voting on the warrant, because they have to get, they get it done
That was
early.
What happened with my tax bill, but it didn't become apparent till I did my income taxes. Okay.
Let me see, Ryan sent me. To see when they're actually gonna, finalize the warrant. Oh my goodness.
Do you want me to reach out to Tyler and Brian again and see if they're,
Yes, if, um, oh, here's the town meeting schedule. Okay, this is what I was looking for, the timeline. Draft articles are due on the 23rd, which is Thursday. Town meeting warrant closes Friday. Next Monday, the select board will determine the order of articles and vote any ballot questions to be transmitted. Oh, which would be us, like, as a ballot question. Yeah, see, the town meeting warrants due to be posted on April 6th. Recommendations on articles from select board is on the 27th, so it's like everything's got to happen next week. This week. I don't know, do we just rip Band-Aid off and ask for 3% and then see how it falls?
I think that's okay as a starting point, and then if, our conversations with the other boards in the meanwhile, then we can amend it on the town floor, or we can do a handout that says that the terms have changed or something like that, but question is, do we do it the full 3% or do we do it in 2 steps?
I like Linda's idea, to be honest, of doing the 0.5% this upcoming fiscal year and then the other 1.5.
1 and 1. No, it's 1 and 1.
1 and 1.
Oh, 1 and 1, sorry. 1 and 1.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I just don't think we have the information right now. I guess because we really haven't heard from all of FinCom. We haven't heard much from the select board. I would say they were more positive than FinCom initially, but yeah, no idea what that leads to. And if we don't have FinCom on board, probably not going very far.
Right.
So and I don't know. at this point, do we just say, that we support the proposal of an article with up to a 3% surcharge in one or two steps, and potentially keeping blended funds if there is a steady source of revenue for blended funds. And then we have to go sort that out outside of this meeting between now and then, we can as a board decide whether or not we actually support what's put forward by the time we get to it. I don't know if there's much more we can do right now because
No,
It's very true. Yeah.
well, it's too bad because, I mean, if we can't have the ballot vote until next May, it's too bad we can't hold off until the fall.
and I'm not sure, I mean, to be honest, there's, I understand that the town administrator would like to see something now.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's necessary and I'm not sure it's reasonable.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
everything,
I think that's where it's being driven from.
Mhm.
So,
Sorry, Mitt.
yeah, everything you said, Saul, made sense. I think to say wait to me, we can't afford to get it really horribly wrong this first go, but we could afford to wait, I think.
It does seem like we're kind of rushing into things right now.
Especially if we can't meet with, I mean, even if we meet as a subcommittee, it would be nice to bring it back to the full boards
Yeah.
and
Right.
discuss it. And we can't do that between now and Monday.
no, we could have, I mean, you could have a draft article that's a placeholder,
Yeah.
Mhm.
get the feedback from all of the boards, and then adjust it before you go to print or before you go to.
But it's still,
So if we weren't doing this at Springtime meeting, is there any, I don't know what the right word is, deadline or anything else that we would be missing that would then cause us to say in 5 months, oh darn, we missed X deadline. I mean, I'm just trying to think through, is there anything that we're missing by not doing it now?
Well, how much jeopardy would the Webster property be put at if we don't put something in now? Guess that's the question. Because Anthony seems to think that the state grant office wants some sort of town commitment, and this would be it, I guess.
is that usually matching funds? Is that like a 1-for-1 match or anything? Do we know?
I feel like it's more like a 70-30
No.
for what we were planning to go for. If we even got it, because again, we just received a state grant, so the odds are kind of against us.
Well, that would be kind of a kick in the pants if we can't get the grant and then we're on the hook for the whole
Right.
1.8.
That's the thing.
Then that, then our plan's gonna go astray.
Yeah.
Well, I think all of those, those things are all based on contingencies, so.
So the kind of commitment then that we're talking about being needed for this particular property be that we would use the 476 that's currently in here. And is that sufficient as a commitment from the town?
Can we also say and or bond? Can we do that? So we don't have to use all of our funds if we don't want to.
And we'll just wipe out 2 buckets.
It could be bonded. I mean, at first the Concom would have to formally vote to authorize all those open space monies to be used for it. And it's a lot of different factors at play.
I think bonding is certainly a realistic.
Oh, absolutely.
We've
And
done that
reasonable
with
thing to do.
everything, except for the Brown property and I think the Williams property. I think those are the only ones that we haven't bonded, right?
Yeah, 'cause Yap was bonded.
Yeah. There's 3 of them we're doing right now.
Yeah, Williams probably not have bonded. I think Williams was bonded, actually.
Is it? Well, let's see. We have 3 projects that were bonded. Oh yeah, Williams was, but only $300,000.
It's kind of everything that-
The Cobb property, the Williams property and the Yap property were all bonded, but small amounts.
Um,
Do we know when those are coming off of the books?
Yeah, Yap is coming off fiscal year 29. Cobb fiscal year 31 and Williams fiscal year 28. We still have a ways to go. But it's small, you know, the amounts keep getting smaller because it's,
I'm trying to think, was Church Meadows also bonded or was that an outright purchase? Hmm.
oh, that was bonded 270,000, but we must have paid it off. We either didn't write it down or it's that yeah, that was 270 bonded and 145,000 CPA money. That was 10 years ago.
It's crazy that was 10 years ago.
Um,
I mean, what if we tonight decide that we don't want to, I mean, it's our warrant. If we say we don't have the information to be able to put forward and we want to wait till the fall town meeting.
I think that's very reasonable though.
But we want to make sure that we identify that there would be funding to support.
Yeah. And we would support the,
I mean, I don't know, I mean, I haven't heard from, you know, is that piece, yeah, I guess I haven't heard from other groups, is that piece of property the piece of property
The piece of
that
property.
we would want to commit money to?
It's always hard to say whether or not a property is like the piece of property. The Concom has discussed this particular property very lightly, the last two meetings, and we proposed doing a site walk and really having a look at it because it could be potential habitat for certain animals and has a lot of conservation value, but is it the property? What if something else comes up? That's always the gamble.
Yeah.
That's the problem with open space. When things come up, you have to act. It's not like they go in order in any way when they go on the market. So that's still up in the air, but
I think there's a lot of question about the actual value, right? That's,
Did anybody see the presentation that Lyle gave at the
Mhm.
select board meeting?
yeah,
Yeah, because I think what he talked about was all the different components to it, which are the ability to maintain trails that exist, you know, vernal pools and historical Native American
yeah.
features to the property. So
it's a beautiful property and historic value alone
Yeah.
is just, it's.
Historic.
Oh, historic.
Yeah.
There's a house there too.
other buckets.
Mm,
No, when I said value, I was thinking more in terms of the, like how many, if you were to sell it at market rate to develop it, how many houses could you actually put there? What's the actual
I
value?
think he talked about that.
yeah, it was a,
Yeah.
That is a factor that,
Debate about that.
yeah.
Wasn't there a lot of wetlands or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, builders are very creative these
Yeah.
days, and we do have 50-foot no disturb in the resource area, and there's always potential for houses, no matter what you look at these days, unfortunately, but
Yeah, it's just certainly potential for houses. The question is how many.
how many could actually
Yeah, I think that's what the appraisal is doing, right?
Exactly,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a piece of it.
But it's, I mean, we'd be lucky to have it if we could get it. It's just a matter of, is it the right time? Is it the right place?
Right.
but if you were asking, everybody, or some people don't understand that town cannot pay more than the appraised value.
Mhm.
It cannot go any higher than the appraised value. And the appraised value.
Yeah.
They can't go to market, what might be considered market rate, but,
Mm,
or premium, I think. Appraised value is all they can go to.
yeah, because wasn't he thinking like 2.5, he had like a real quick calculation of based on acreage in Littleton, it was like 2.5, and he said what he would. He was offering 1.8,
Yeah.
I think, or something, if I remember correctly.
Would be generous of him.
Mm,
He's been here all his life, so he's
You know,
looking to support the town, I think.
I think the Websters are very good and, you know, they want to see it preserved. And a lot of people would have just cashed out and sold it for houses. So they're really looking out for the town. I mean, it'd be great if we could act and actually preserve this piece of land, but again, there are so many factors at hand, but
well, a lot of it's crystal ball, like you say. I mean, you don't have, there's nothing else on the horizon right now. But by golly, by November, there could be.
there could
And
be.
then what do you do? But
Well, I think that's one of the reasons for identifying that this is something that's wanted and
mm,
so far, it seems like there's the support from the select board. They didn't do a formal vote, but it certainly looked like there was support.
Of all the properties
Yeah.
that are, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say of all the properties that are currently on the market, that are potentially on the market, I mean, that's like the one, in my opinion, that we would target, so.
That's,
So I think as long as we have that plan B, that we could use some funds, bond it, whatever, I think, again, we should confirm that with Anthony, but I think that would be a good way to show our skin in the game for
mhm.
what's needed.
So both conservation, open space funds and undesignated funds, we would be willing to dip into. Prefer bonding. I mean, it's gonna have to be, I guess. So we would support using CPA money, both open space and undesignated funds.
Yeah.
To
To support the purchase,
support the purchase.
Yeah. And that's a total of 764,000.
Right, which we have now, and then we'll get the revenue from, so we'll get some more money. I mean, we put 40% of the revenue into that, so there'll be a good bump up.
Is
And
there,
so go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. I was wondering, is it definite that there's going to be something around the Webster property coming to town meeting in the spring?
That's what I gathered.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony basically told us, I think that was what it was gonna be.
that's their hope.
Yeah.
I think that's the, yeah.
You know, well,
So I
it's
think-
not-
I think, that means,
Isn't her.
Go ahead, man.
no, I was thinking that, that might be a really key strategy for us too, to say, whatever we say tonight, to commit to, using it as emphasis and showing people the numbers for open space when it comes to town meeting this spring, and be pretty transparent about the idea, if we're going to use undesignated funds, for instance, to let people know that that's not being replenished, that this is a one-time thing, and that we're sort of crossing a river here, and there's no going back unless we make a change for the future. And it would be a good way to signal what we would intend to talk about in the fall town meeting.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so put off the surcharge increase for this round, but manage to insert a lot of discussion around it.
Hmm. Well, I think there'll be discussion if we decide not to bring it to town meeting, but maybe that's a strategy. I mean, I don't know. Because really, the only thing that we would be doing is not being able to show that we would have the money for the Webster property, because we can't speed up our timeline if we have to have that ballot vote.
And we can't guarantee that that's gonna pass the
Right.
ballot anyway.
But if we had a little bit more time to show some concrete examples, I mean, this Webster property is gonna be in everybody's face. And we can say, yeah, that will take all of the open space, and then if open space comes up next spring, we're not gonna be able to do it unless we have this increase. Maybe it would be a good example to see black and white, what happens to the CPA bucket when you take all the money out. That's what happened. Who should I point to? Mitt, remember back, with the recreation, when they took all the money for 300 King Street, everybody was up in arms because they just drained the CPA money. And that kind
Right.
of signaled a bit of a change in the way CPA operated after that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what do people, this is a tough.
You know, one of the things that I had also inquired about was the whole notion that as town residents, some folks may not be in a financial position to feel comfortable with tax increases. Some folks may not necessarily agree with a particular acquisition. But for folks who do agree, and we have a lot of folks in town who do, there could also be an open private gift to the CPC to say, you know what, I really want X, or I really want CPC to beef up its particular bucket, if you will. That could be another alternative as well, because that I did confirm with the town that they do accept private gifts, and those private gifts could go directly to CPC.
Yeah.
You know, the sheer fact that the town was able to fundraise over $1 million for the library that everybody wanted in, you know, a couple of years, clearly there's an appetite for doing things that people can really get behind. So that would be another alternative.
It is an alternative, but it can be counted on.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
That's a good idea, though. We could always need just VT. I mean, they're great at fundraising campaigns, and maybe we could even involve them with property. So, yeah,
You know,
it's a possibility.
Mhm.
So I guess the way I look at it is no matter what we come up with, I believe that we can come to that 3%, getting to that point, either through the vote, through the public dollars that already are coming in through local aid, through personal contributions, et cetera. I just really think that this is something that needs to happen because, as Saul has said, getting to the 3%, we want that money.
Yeah.
We want
Right,
that
I mean, it's-
match. I mean, that's ultimately the goal, right? We
Yeah.
want the match.
Right.
I think we should. Before tonight, I wasn't thinking blended funds was a great source, but based on the discussion tonight, there are a number of
yeah,
possible blended sources that are pretty good, darn good. The marijuana, the hotel, the cell phone towers. I mean, so we should really pursue blended also, right?
So where are those cell phone tower funds going now? Just into the general for use by the Conservation Commission?
So I'm not 100% sure where they are right now because I think Alicia was working on it, and
That's, yeah.
now Alicia's in a different town.
Yeah.
So
she probably took the funds with her.
Oh, that's not so funny to know that happened.
I know that,
Yeah.
yeah.
But Alicia would not do that. She was by the book. Yeah, I was gonna meet with Pat sometime and just kind of, I don't know if she's from a CPA community. I don't know what her involvement is with it, but I know she was brand new, so I didn't really want to
Mhm.
accost her, but, and they're getting ready for town meeting, but it may be soon. But I think it would be nice to have her or even have her come to our next meeting.
that'd be great.
Yeah. We should have had her come tonight.
In terms of putting something on this
Yes.
warrant.
I don't know. Do people feel comfortable putting it off, or do you think we should at least submit something? I'm so on the fence. I'm not sure.
You said that the Webster property is gonna be mentioned or brought up in the town meeting, and in what form, and who's gonna say what about it?
Would it be a warrant article? I don't
No,
think
It's
so.
gonna be a mind bending. That's all.
Just sort of an information, that's sort of an informational.
I've lost.
It's
No,
Or is it,
Not but.
or is it directional?
my opinion.
Do they need a town meeting vote to apply for the grant?
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what it is, right?
Oh, they need that first.
And that's,
Yeah, because you need permission to actually apply for the grants.
that's what it is. And that's why they want us to say something to,
Can we just vote a sense that, if needed, we will contribute what we can to that to match that grant or whatever, something like that?
Yeah.
If
Pending,
we can be that vague, that would probably be the best thing if we.
No,
can.
let's not be vague. Put a number on it. I mean, really go out and it won't have any weight if we don't have a number, I think.
Really?
Well, I don't think there's, I mean, there's no
It's
number
not
on
even
the,
binding. I don't.
but there's no number on the property, so
Okay.
that's the.
yeah,
That's a good
everything is
point.
vague.
Everything is vague at this point.
Yeah, if there's
That's
a number on the property, I don't think we need to put one, right?
No, and where the Concom hasn't really fully expressed its 100% interested in purchasing the property. It, I wouldn't want to say, okay, yes, let's designate all the open space money for this particular, so our board would have to meet, discuss it. There's a lot of moving parts.
Right.
It's,
But we could still,
No, I think Bartlett's right. If we could say something vague,
Something
like we
vague,
will
but-
support what we can towards the purchase of this property.
yeah,
Yeah, although I don't think I mean, we can do that
No,
no, we can do
Oh.
that in April when there is actually a proposal and an appraisal and,
but
I
Anthony
think-
wants something by the end of this week.
well, I think that may be a sit down with Anthony and,
Okay,
but I don't know. I mean, I get the sense that is the group supportive of that? Of committing to that, I guess is the first question.
I mean, personally, I am. I mean, I would like to see the property purchased, so but that's my, personal
so
opinion.
should we go around the room and see what people think?
we can just give a vague answer to a vague question. That's.
Yeah. No, I think we should say what Bartlett said, as long as everyone is comfortable with that.
If we're talking about a property, then yes.
And this, I guess goes on the record is meant, then when you say it, I mean, the state match, which we don't get until November. I mean, we voted and I think we gave extra to open space. But we could vote to give the I mean, we give most of it to, but we only have to put 10% in each of the buckets. So we could dump more into open space if,
We could, I wouldn't want to take Bartlett's housing money and.
well, I mean, it would take, I think, what did we do? I think it was
This,
only
there
like
is, 16% or something for undesignated, so
Yeah.
there is some,
Mhm.
some extra in there.
there's some extra.
And I think it was 30% to open space, so, I mean, it's not a ton of money that we get through the match anyways. Not like it's millions of dollars.
Not yet.
Not yet,
Uh,
but we've already voted that, so.
Mhm.
we can vote it again.
That's enough.
So another way to look at this could be that, and again, you all are more experienced on how CPC votes are supposed to be made, or motions, excuse me, are supposed to be made. And that is, we could say, as a committee, our preference is X. So if our preference is to hold off until fall, and this is why, and then under that scenario, we would show our support for the project through our dollars, through our bond. If in discussions with Anthony, that it really seems that the turning point is, no, it's now, or this isn't going to happen, then, we go full on 3% by using a staggered approach of 1%
Mhm.
this year, and then 1% in 25, then 1% in 26.
half and one.
One and one.
One and one.
Well, half of,
Yeah,
we're, sorry, 1 and 1, 1 and 1, that's right, we're at
Yeah.
1 now, yes,
Yeah.
1 and 1.
So, I mean, that's sort of the way to think about it is, I mean,
And let them know that they can put in some income if they chose to. I mean, that would help.
Yeah.
And a commitment to blended
Yeah.
funds.
yeah, maybe that's it, right?
Yeah.
So, because I know from having talked with Anthony about this, is that he has said before, well, if the town wants all the things that the town wants, then it has to basically say yes to this, right?
Mhm.
Say yes to the 3%. And that is correct, but you know, how we get there is part of what we're dealing with.
And I'm nervous because we've had pushback already,
Hmm,
even from possibly the finance committee, or at least one member. of the
Yeah.
finance
Right.
committee. So that makes me nervous to do it all at once, but you know, if you all decide to do it all at once, it's fine.
and we've already had someone say that they will amend it on the
Yes,
town meeting
right.
floor.
Right.
And I suspect that will happen.
I
if we
think that
try.
will
That's
happen.
right.
I suspect it will happen if we do anything, but that's.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Yeah, so do we start at 3, so we only go down to 2, or if we can. It's complicated. Well, I kind of like what Anna just,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's that's the same, and I think that's essentially where I was at before, is that we want to get to 3, whether it's through blended or surcharge. We need the buy-in and support from other boards and committees, and if we can get that before town meeting this year, great. If we can't, we'd rather do it in the fall,
hmm,
unless there's some truly urgent reason we have to do it now.
right,
Well, he's gonna argue, Anthony's gonna say that we need to do it for the state grant
No, he
application.
can convince FinCom
yeah,
then. I mean,
right, we throw in a middle app and say, this is what we've come to.
So if you guys can't meet with FinCom this week, then what happens?
Well, I suspect when we put this in, there'll be a,
well, like I said, so do we then draft up the 1-in-1 and
mhm,
I think I'd be prepared, this is Mitt, to make a motion tonight. I could suggest to the committee that we just tonight vote simply to support a 1% tax surcharge and deliver that to the town hall on this week. Say, we'll bring that to the warrant, and then that says what our commitment is to. Don't mention we don't need to mention the land purchase that we've talked so much about tonight until we really, strategize further, or even until town meeting when we're at the microphone and trying to support this. We can mention that, but I think having a motion that says we're just in support of a 1%, I think we can be clear about the details over the next medium term, the next month or two before town meeting, while we're making meeting with those boards and trying to get them on board and saying all the things that we said tonight, repeat those for them, saying this is your chance to show your skin in the game with blended funds, for example. And then I don't think we need in a motion a reference to the second 1%. That can become an argument that we use in a timely way. If people haven't suggested any blended funds, then we'll say, well, in a year's time, we'll probably come back and suggest another and 1%, because the real goal is 3%.
I like that, Mitt.
I don't love coming back in a year to do it again.
hmm.
Well, yeah, I think we could push.
What's that, Matt?
I think we would all like to see blended funds work their charm then, and we won't have to, I would hope.
With all these potential sources, I mean, it's definitely worth looking into before we potentially dive in.
And one last thing too, I heard it mentioned once that, and I think this is true, that we could vote every year, 1% up or 0.5% down. It's not a forever vote.
Hmm.
Although it is, I mean, it's a town meeting vote and a ballot vote every time you want to change it. So it's a long,
We want to do it in even number years, when there's a
Okay, yeah, it's a
fall,
yucky process.
fall election.
Well, so what about this? This is a little more complicated, but what if we said something like, we propose 1% next year? And then say, as part of this, and also getting funding sources from blended funds. If the blended funds don't work out, we will come back for another 1% next year. Might be too complicated to do that.
I think that's very reasonable, though. I mean, it shows that we're doing our due diligence and not just going after
Or do we-
2%.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to structure anything, but can we just say that we are targeting 3% in a combination of surcharge and blended funds by fiscal year 26. Details to be determined by,
Yeah, no, I like
between now and town meeting, basically.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, putting it as the goal is 3%. There's different ways to get it, and we want to work with the select board
And
FinCom to figure out what everybody can agree on as a method to get there.
Right, I don't think it should just be in our laps because we need their input.
Absolutely.
I have a question around that. Is the language for this important that we, I mean, legally, do we have to make the warrant deadline with something really? Because what you said, Saul, made sense, but that sounds like strategy or philosophy, and I'm not sure if that's going to be allowed by the deadline for the warrant. Don't we have to have language that's entered in the warrant?
I would suggest we put Saul's language in and see what they say, if it's acceptable. You can ask them if this is acceptable or something.
But we have to vote tonight. That's the thing.
Yeah, and it,
Well, so I don't know.
Or do we have to, or can they write they can write whatever they want for the warrant article? We don't have to write it now here, or do we?
No,
No.
should,
But we should agree with whatever
Yeah, I
they
mean,
write.
it's
I mean, whatever they end up writing and make sure we're okay
Right.
with it.
and the other
Okay.
thing too is if we say
Fair.
1% now and 1% in 26, does that kind of take the pressure off them to not
That's why I liked his language.
the blended funds? They're like, oh, we only have to do it 1 year, and then next year it's just gonna go up anyway.
Oh, I see what
So
you're
then
saying.
there's no commitment, no running commitment to keep the blended funds in,
That's true.
That's a good point,
And I'm not sure that, well, I don't- yeah,
if they will even.
right.
if they will even.
Yeah, if the blended funds have already been committed to other things, then,
Mm,
yeah, that's the problem with blended funds, right?
Right.
They can be committed to other
Right.
projects
Salaries
Until-
and snowplows and,
and,
unless there's a town
Schools
meeting
and-
vote like there was in the cell towers.
right.
yeah.
Right, right.
So, I guess, yeah, I don't know what level of detail we need to commit to at this meeting.
Well, they wanted a draft of the town meeting article, so they basically want what we want to see at town meeting. And I think we should submit what we want to see, whether it gets changed or not, at least we've taken a stand of what we think is the right way to go. And if that's a 1% increase in the surcharge and then a commitment to blended funds,
If that doesn't happen, then return for 1%.
yeah.
Well, well,
Would be Mark.
Hello.
hello.
Sorry, we're going a little bit longer. Yeah,
So I like what Anna said, but I also acknowledge what Carolyn just said, or whoever said it. If we let them know we're going for the second 1%, then they might not be
Right,
committed to
right,
blended.
okay.
So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I guess the upside of using blended funds is that it's already coming from revenue, so it does not increase the burden on the taxpayer. The downside is it's hard, it seems harder to manage.
Hmm.
And it doesn't increase revenue. And I don't know whether is the goal to increase total revenue, or is the goal to increase the match?
The latter.
Yeah, I would
Match.
say we want to get to the match,
Then-
to the
Which
3%.
increase, yeah.
But we know that blended funds can be managed because Keith
Mm.
used to manage them, so
And
it
if
can
we're-
be done.
And if more people go for the exemptions, it will decrease how much of the blended funds we need, especially if we've only got a 1% instead of 2%. I mean, 2% is, well, what we got, 385, so it's like $720,000. So this would only be another 385 we'd have to get. The hotel tax would almost take it all,
Might,
Hmm.
but again, the hotel tax is already being used for something,
something else.
right?
But there's the
There is no,
marijuana,
But
there's
if it's
the
being used
cell
for,
towers.
like you were saying before, if it's being used for tennis courts, well, then it just goes through CPA instead of directly
Right.
from. And there may be other things that we could earmark.
Yes, I'm leaning towards 1% and blended and not mention the last 1%, but I don't know how everyone else feels.
I would agree with that, Linda. I think it's a responsible move that you're not hitting the taxpayers with a heavy 2% initially, and you're doing your due diligence with the blended funds to see what's available and what could be used. Mark, what do you think?
Have a bracelet on, because he was.
I'll go down the hall. I'll come back.
Nick gave his thumbs up,
Oh, yes, Mitt, you're okay with that?
I am, I just,
sort of.
I am in favor of it. I know that, the blended funds there, so they come and go and you have to nail them down, and there's no chance we could do, another we can't do an article that's really concrete. We could do a 1%, yes, but we can't really suggest or telegraph what we think is going to happen, where the blended funds will come from. That's its own little project, and that takes time.
That's
So I
policy,
think-
not,
There's a
Yeah.
good chance that we won't get to 3% in that first year. But I think it's a conservative way of doing it, that we can better get partners on board, and it also is a little more palatable to the average taxpayer who's going to vote at town meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we're doubling our revenue at that. I mean,
Right. So I liked the preamble, Saul, that you had. Everything you said made sense. You know, in being goal oriented, it could be a preamble, and then we'd say, therefore, it is, proposed that there's a 1% increase to bring revenue to 2% real estate tax surcharge by the year, whatever, for the year such and such.
25.
Can somebody piece that together? I'll type. If you speak, we'd have a motion there.
glad we're recording this, I'll never know. Right,
Right, fortunately it's recorded, so yeah, I mean,
remember what you said 10 minutes ago? Tom?
I don't, and
Which I
I
do.
go back to, I think all of this is meaningless until, I mean, it's great for us to talk about what we want to do.
Yeah,
All of it is meaningless until we sit down and see from the town budget, the FinCom, the select board, what they're on board with, because we can throw something out there and we're just going to get pelted if there's nobody to support it. So,
Mhm.
I I don't know that there's any reason to commit to anything at this point without having the discussion. I just,
It is, yeah, I'm kind of back and forth. But I do feel like maybe going for the 1% would be a good move for now. I do like Mitt's approach to this.
yeah, I mean, I'm fine with, let's, lay out the target of we would like to see 3% to maximize our matching by, I'd say 26. And we can put the text of the surcharge change in for 25 with 1%. It's a total of 2%. And then try and figure out the rest from there.
Can we say with also seeking blended funds?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that puts their skin in the game.
We need to get them on board with that.
That's right, but this is, they're asking us to say something, so this is what we want, right? So let's say what we want.
I mean, it sounds like it's between putting it off until the fall or 1% at this point.
And I'm still in favor of putting it off to the
Well,
fall.
putting it off, I know we've said this before tonight, but putting it off to the fall doesn't give any support for the possible state
Project.
grant. Even though they probably won't get it, but they need us, this warrant article to support a
Right.
possible
Yeah, I don't
state
know.
grant.
I'm not, again, I'm not convinced they do.
Well, as we were told, I don't know.
I mean, there's funds there, there's sufficient funds in the account to cover roughly half of what we expect the purchase to be.
Right, but the state wants to know that.
Yeah, well,
So that's why that's my understanding that's why he wants the warrant article, so that he can say to the state, there's a commitment by the CPC if we get the state grant of these funds.
But even that would be kind of smoke and mirrors, the Saul's point, because nothing would even be voted on.
You're right, you're right.
Right.
yeah,
I mean.
So yeah, what,
I know.
The best we can do is just say a sense of the committee is that we would support if that piece of property came
Yes.
on the market.
when
We
you,
would-
when
we
you put
would
that
support
proposal in
the
front of
purchase
us,
it.
we would like this.
Right, that's all we
That's
could, right,
really all we can say, and that's not a warrant article.
that's not a warrant article, so maybe that's something to communicate to Anthony. Right, that statement that we would support.
But I think
Yeah, I think that they're trying to get. I mean, unless the remainder of the finance committee is of a radically different opinion than Brian, I think trying to get on to the spring town meeting is not a wise decision. And we won't know that until we have some more discussion.
Right.
yeah,
And are we leaving the possibility?
Members think.
Are we
What, Nick?
leaving the possibility? Are we leaving the possibility that we could do that open by saying something tonight?
Yeah, I mean,
well, we could put a placeholder and say we demand 3% and then pull it anytime, before.
or right, or you could, again, we could put in the 2% for 25 and
Yeah, we
2% for
could do that. I mean,
26.
we could put something in and then
And
depending on the
Yeah.
feedback, we have another couple of months and we could pull it.
Right,
Or-
that's
or
true.
adjust it. We'll throw out, adjust it, whatever, and then,
Yes.
yeah, we don't need final language now.
No.
We just
Right,
need a,
placeholder of
Yeah.
some sort. Right, I kind of forgot that we really.
and really, I mean, that might, maybe the thing to do right now is to just say 3% in fiscal year 25, because that's the maximalist position and anything else is backing down from there. And
Should we say 3% and 25 as either surcharge and or blended funds?
I think well, the text is either 3% surcharge or something and a blended fund.
Or 2% surcharge plus blended fund.
Yeah.
So that's
Or
what we would
2.5.
say, you're saying.
Do we have to go to town meeting to apply for a grant, or did the select board just have to approve it? I can't believe that we have to go to a town meeting vote to get it.
I think it might be through the town meeting, oddly enough. Well, I'll have to
Find it.
verify that, but for some reason, I think when we did go for that last grant,
I have some vague recollection of that, but I'm
When would
not
that have
sure.
been, like October?
So Sal, are you saying to go full board, be bold, say 3%, and then over the next month, we would,
Negotiate.
Back down a little
Yeah.
bit.
okay.
Because
And it could, right, and it could be 1 and 1, it could be 1 in blended funds, it could be just 1 and that's all we're gonna do, because that's all we think we can get support for. You know, I just don't know, I don't know what we can get support for at this point.
Yeah, it's,
And I would rather do it in the fall, and unless Anthony really comes up with a convincing argument that we have to do it now, I think we'd have much better success.
Well, you know, what he's looking for is support for the.
Yeah.
For the land and it's nothing, I mean, it's not on the table yet, so we can't vote on it. And so all we can do is say, yeah, if we hypothetically, if that does appear on the table, we would look at it and probably support it.
yeah,
So,
I think Saul, a fall reconsideration is in order.
But again, I think, we need to, unfortunately, all of this requires both the discussion with the other boards and the discussion with the town.
There's a lot that has to get done.
Administration.
right, but
So-
if we decide to put something in the warrant tonight, then we'll. I mean, I would say, yeah, go for 3% and we'll negotiate.
that's fine. I'm all right with that. Is this subcommittee planning to meet with the FinCom or whatever before the warrant closes? Is that the plan?
I don't know if we're gonna get there.
Ideally.
Oh, it ends this week?
Yeah.
The warrant closes by the end of this week.
Yeah, technically, yes.
So you don't have to meet by the end of this week. We could
But
pull
again-
the article if we want to.
Right,
Right, because again, if we meet tomorrow even, we can't get the rest
No,
of the
you're right.
boards back together to discuss it.
Right, but
Except for
all
the,
right, no, you're right. So you won't meet, but you'll meet with them at some point, and we could pull the article if needed. Basically.
I need this, the warrant article doesn't go to the printer till April 4th,
Mm,
so this is kind of time for them to assimilate all the language and
Right.
everything else, yeah.
Or we could pull it at the town meeting.
or we could come in with an amended green sheet or something.
Right,
Right.
right. Right, so this isn't the end, this is just.
No.
but if we say 3%, they're just gonna take that and run with that, aren't they?
Yeah, no, and if we pull it at the last second, it's gonna look terrible, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say we would like to have something before it goes to the printer that reflects what we want to
We
do.
really want.
That'll allow us time to still meet again.
Yeah,
Mm.
well, then, both that would reflect what we want to do and what is we can get support from the rest of town government and town.
So what do we come up with tonight?
Do we not submit language and just tell them that?
I'm of the opinion now, me personally, that I would rather work over the next, 6 months or whatever with the various boards to really hammer something concrete out that everybody's on board with, that we know is, fiscally.
So
matching the town's
what happens with
interests.
the land grant thing?
We could point to Saul's, argument that we have X amount of money in the CPA monies and whatever other,
But you thought it has to be on town meeting, maybe.
to apply for the grant.
Oh, to apply for the grant.
That's-
Now, right, but
That's
that's,
their article, that's not
That's-
not our
yeah,
problem.
We have what we have and whatever they can get in addition to that,
Mhm.
we don't even have a property in front of us at this point formally. So it's,
so can we write a note to the town, to Anthony and say, we have discussed this and agree that we could commit
up
the open
to-
space money up to X amount once we have a project before us? Is that what we're saying?
and pending,
Assuming that it looks reasonable and,
Yeah,
there's a whole lot of,
Well, yeah, no, you're right. Assuming blah, 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 and
Yeah.
blah. Yeah,
we could make a contingent.
board support and.
So you're saying submit a statement to him, but not a warrant article. Is that what people are saying?
I don't think we can put in a warrant article. I don't know what it would say. I mean,
Well, we could put in the 2%, 3%, whatever number we want to put on it. We could put that one in if we wanted to, but again,
So the statement, if it's not a warrant article language, we would like to see 3% to match our funding by 2026, which is your language. And then the sub bullets under that are just for his purposes around. We still need to talk with FinCom, Patty or Pat. And we need to get
in the select board.
approval, review and approval by select board.
So rather than actually putting in a warrant article, just say this is what we want to do. But we need more information.
We look forward to working with you over the coming months.
Ned, what do you think?
And I think the third bullet would be if we need to show support for the Webster property, then the CPC is
Interested,
Willing to
Prepared.
prepared,
that's a good word, prepared
do so
with up to,
with monies that are in the open space and undesignated,
Yes.
yes,
yes,
because that will change
yes, right.
in open space and undesignated.
Pending board
Pending.
approval for Concom and.
Yes,
Right,
pending
Concom.
approval of Concom,
Pending,
yes.
Overall support.
overall support of,
And
well, board support of.
could the selectmen propose it without Concom's permission or,
I don't think so.
support?
It wouldn't look very good, I mean. But, yeah,
You had 3 bullets. The first one was, we still need the FinCom Select Board Finance Director discussions. And we want to get to the 3% by fiscal year 26.
mhm,
Just leave it at that, not saying anything about blended funds surcharge, just that.
Right.
Okay. There was a bullet point before that.
that we wanted to have the FinCom finance
Yeah,
gal discussions, select board needs to approve it. And the CPC is willing to support it through
okay.
the monies, and then this would be pending support, obviously, for the property itself.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Yeah.
overall board
I
purchase.
think that was it.
Was it just the 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Ned, you on board?
I'm only half following it. Talking about- but I do have some language. Are we saying in a show of support for the purchase of the Webster property, the Community Preservation Committee declares that it is prepared to support with how much money? Is that what we're saying?
We're just saying with monies in the open space and undesignated funds.
Because the amount will change.
Yeah, we don't have a final.
I want to be ahead of the game.
Up to or at a minimum of?
No, I just say, I wouldn't go out there yet.
No, I agree, just whatever's in there. I wouldn't commit it
do
either.
like housing, just take it home.
I think what we want to say to Anthony is that we want to get to the 3% by fiscal year 26.
Right. Did you see the text that I sent you, Carolyn? By email?
Mhm.
These are two,
Ned, what- oh,
it strikes
sorry,
me
Ned,
as
what
two
were-
different things. We're talking about two different things. And one we don't have to do tonight. We don't, do we have to say that we're in support of the Webster property tonight? Because that doesn't have any impact on the warrant. Is that correct?
Well, no, that's not true because
It doesn't really. I mean,
Yeah, that's just kind of what they've
We
said.
could,
to
well,
us.
we could meet in April to say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we should focus on what we intend to do with the real estate tax surcharge tonight.
Mhm.
Okay. But my understanding is right now we're saying we're not gonna submit a warrant article. We're just gonna submit a statement to the select board. Are you okay with that?
And that's why we were saying what we were saying about the property, because that is one of their driving factors for us to do this increase.
Okay, so they're connected, I see, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But they can, I mean, they, again, that, there's nothing in front of us.
Right.
Yes, we're generally supportive of it. I don't think it
Generally.
requires, I mean,
Generally, yeah.
and it doesn't require a vote, maybe, either.
right.
We're just
So-
saying among ourselves that we're gonna go have some conversations.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm in support of that.
okay.
Do you have plans to talk with Anthony?
Well, I was gonna send off what we did tonight to him because we gotta do it soon,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay.
Well, they're expecting it. They're not expecting what we're gonna send them, I don't think.
Maybe we should put it in a motion just to solidify it for tonight.
Not a bad idea.
I'll make a motion that the CPC votes to formally recommend reconsideration, well, not reconsideration, how could we word this?
Well,
It's tricky.
What did you say 15 minutes ago?
I know, it's all what you say.
That the CPC will voted to submit a statement to the select board that says what Carolyn just wrote down.
Which is that we're gonna wait until the fall town meeting to pursue any further action with increasing the CPA surcharge. Up to, well, no, we won't even say that now.
You know,
Right?
Yeah.
Is that,
Right.
so we voted finally to formally to submit a statement that we will wait.
Or do we just vote to? Do we just vote to submit the adjustment to the CPA to fall town meeting?
That works.
Unless something comes up in between the changes.
Can you
And then I
repeat
can
that?
tell him offline that it's because we need to talk to all these
He can
people.
watch all of this if you.
Yeah, I know, that's right. It's not like we can tell any secrets, right? Okay, so we wanna vote to wait to fall town meeting to submit any adjustment to the CPA surcharge.
Yeah, pending further investigation and other board and committee input.
And then,
Is everyone okay with waiting till fall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Assuming it doesn't negatively impact,
The Webster property,
right?
and if it does, he can come back and tell us that,
and then we have to do something.
and then we have to do
Yeah.
something.
So should we have a fallback plan in case he does come back and say,
Then it's 3% negotiated.
right, then it's 3% to be negotiated, how to get there. Yes,
Come and meet with us and talk to us about it.
right,
And if he says anything about support, I can say, yes, we generally support the sale of, or the purchase of the property. And are willing, to what we said
Right.
before, we're willing to, prepared to do so with monies in open space and undesignated funds. Pending overall other boards, and I don't know how to say that, other boards. Purchase, which is the Concom and FinCom and. Et cetera.
sidewalk committee.
That's not what committee.
Conservation, recreation, for their board works. Okay, so do we? Nick, did you get that? Okay, I got to, so Andrew makes a motion.
I will make a motion that the CPC formally vote to postpone any further action on increasing the CPA surcharge till the fall town meeting pending other board input, further investigation and further public comments.
Second,
All right, Bartlett, second. Do we do a roll call vote even if we have one member off-site? I guess so, right? Yeah,
Probably should.
technically. All right, this is in favor of the motion as Andrew mentioned and seconded by Bartlett. Andrew,
I,
Sam,
Aye.
Bartlett,
I,
Saul,
Aye.
Anna,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Carolyn is a yes, and Mitt.
Yes, I.
Okay. You. That's, all right, I will, should I write that up and send it to you guys before I send it off to Anthony?
I think you got it. What do you think?
Thank you, fine.
I think you got it.
Whatever it says.
As long as you can read your own handwriting.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do this the second I get home because I'm not sure I can, so Mitt, I may, you and I should probably get together and, because I don't know how quickly Mark will have this up on. A day or two.
Usually pretty quick,
Yeah.
without the extra
Good.
editing and time.
Yeah,
I have a lot of stuff here, a lot to delete, but there's
yeah,
probably a few gems in here, including
yeah.
quote, Mitt, in a genius stroke of equivocation, thought it might be strategic to not bring the tax surcharge to Springtown meeting. So that's how my notes have been tonight.
Ah,
This guy is like,
that, or whatever. All right, so we'll get that to Anthony and we'll see what happens. I guess that's all we can do.
good, thank you.
Any further discussion? The only other thing I'd like to do is approve those minutes, just real quick.
I make a motion that we approve minutes that Carolyn submitted for our last meeting.
second.
Sign. All right,
Zoom bomb.
Zoom bomb. I know.
Zoom bomb.
So, submitting as submitted. So Andrew,
I,
Sam.
I wasn't here, so I should.
Oh, yeah,
stayed.
You can,
Okay.
you can stand if you want. Violet,
I,
Saul,
Aye.
Anna, Linda,
Yes.
Carolyn's a yes, Mitt,
He
I,
wasn't there.
I think you can still vote.
you can still vote on that.
Okay, good.
Watch the video.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. I know this is a lot. I thought I
Still
said to
had
my
to be
mother,
done.
be done before 8 o'clock.
Zoom bomb people try to get in tonight? Like, did you see
No, I
anybody? come
didn't
up
see
the street?
anybody come in,
Interesting.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
so. Yeah, that was an interesting, I don't know if you watched or looked at the end, what, Judy did was she cut it off. There's a little bit of the Zoom bombing, so you can see what happens, and then she cut it off and she put a statement that it had been Zoom bombed and that we were, picking up the meeting tonight. So if anybody watches it, they'll see what happened.
Yeah, you couldn't leave that up like
You
in its
couldn't leave that.
entirety.
No,
No.
no.
So. Yeah, never mind.
What?
I was thinking about going back to the member of the public input section, only to, if we're going to continue to take public inputs based on the discussion with Anthony,
Hmm.
we need to be very specific about how much time we're allowing for public input and how much time each person is allowed, and then maintain that, because that is
Right.
we are very limited in what we can stop people from saying other than limiting their time.
Yeah.
I see.
Unless it's hate speech, you cannot limit somebody's.
I don't think
Public
you,
comment.
apparently even that you can't limit.
Hmm.
So I think, I know planning board does like 2 minutes
Hmm.
per person.
And then if they have more to say, can we say you can continue? Are we allowed to do that?
Then you have to do that for the next person.
Then you're,
Right.
so then you're inviting,
Yeah,
so
and,
that,
and some people like even, or some boards like select board will even say, you know, we'll do 10 minutes of public input, so that really only needs 5 people.
Right.
Mm,
So we should just copy what everybody else, and they'll probably make a policy out of it anyway. So do we want to, but we'll start including that on our
I
agenda.
guess we have
Yeah.
to, based on what happened, yeah.
Where we're gonna be seeking a public opinion in crafting
Right.
our potential increase. We wanna,
I mean, so you're right, there is no obligation for us to have a public input time.
Personally, I mean, from experience, I would love to have public input at our meetings rather than at town meetings, so I'd rather hear what folks are concerned about.
Gee, I wonder why you're saying that. No, that's a good
Yeah, I
one.
don't like to stifle public.
Yeah.
No, yes, I agree.
But
completely.
So what do you
Just-
think? 10 minutes? Is that what we're thinking or
I'll
what?
look and see what
Or 2
planning board
minutes?
and the
All right.
select board do.
Yeah, 3 minutes per person is probably plenty. We don't really get a lot of people coming in. So maybe even just public comments and just put a little note. The public will individually receive 3 minutes of airtime.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
whatever they say.
airtime,
Airtime.
So 3 minutes per person.
Yeah, I think that's
And I'll
very
just
reasonable.
copy the language that everybody else is
Yeah.
using. Okay. Okay, good idea. Anything else?
Future meeting schedule on here.
Oh, yeah, we should, well, unless we have to have a special meeting, the third Thursday would be our next,
On Thursday, not Thursday.
I mean, Wednesday, sorry. Oh, which is April 19th.
Oh, no.
Nope, that's not gonna work.
Well, it won't work for some of us, though you should all come to our little event.
Yeah.
Unless we
No,
could
April
start at
19th is,
7:30.
we always, for years and years, there's a Patriots Day ceremony at Liberty
Oh,
Square.
good.
It's at 7 o'clock at night. Historical Commission puts it on. Oh, what's he showing us? What's
Okay.
the little North Bridge? That's North Bridge. Oh, yeah, that's Patriots Day, okay. So that's not a great night, but I guess you could have it without us, I suppose.
Could we start at 7:30?
I'm gonna be out of town.
Oh, you're out of town anyway, so that's a good
That's
excuse to find
vacation week for
another.
the school.
Oh, that's school
Another day.
vacation week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Although I think you're the only one with children. Oh, well, Mitt will be on vacation too.
What about the previous week of the 12th?
That's historical commission,
Historical, I mean.
April 26th, the following. That's probably Bartlett's,
It's not meeting. Do we know?
May 1st.
Oh, May 1st.
Yeah, it's gonna come up weirdly quickly because, you know,
Yeah,
So-
if it's May 1st, we probably want to do something sooner.
sooner than that, yeah.
So are there any other days that are available to people or not?
Mondays, seem to-
Yeah, Monday is oddly available.
yeah,
Yeah, Monday. Fine with me.
because you have your Concom on Tuesdays now, right?
Yes, those are.
Mid or Monday's okay with you?
Oh, no, Mitt can't do Mondays.
No, I can't do Mondays
Okay.
Tuesday, the 11th.
until,
That might be a con.
Park and Rec lesson.
Thursday, the 13th.
You could do it without me.
Oh,
I mean, you can though, you know, if you have to, do it without me.
Okay, yeah. I have something that night.
okay.
Well,
Again,
you may have to pick a day where not everyone can be here. It is sometimes.
right, actually, yeah, if everybody else can do the 19th, do the 19th. In fact, we can all
That's
call
a
in.
good day then.
Andrew, you can't do.
What about Wednesday? Can people meet at 6?
That's tough for us because,
We gotta get prepared for like.
yeah, because we have to be there early.
No, I was thinking
Yeah.
the week before your commission meeting, like if we meet at 6,
And
and then you guys might have to leave, or you could meet at 7:30 or 7:15 and.
You're looking at that Tuesday or the,
I was looking at Wednesday, the
Or what?
12th.
oh, Wednesday, the 12th, okay.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the 19th.
No, I backed up.
Oh.
But before your commission
Yeah, I
meeting.
don't mind doing that.
Because I'm not sure how much business we'd have except for the 3, well, I said that tonight too.
But we've talked it to death, so really
Yeah,
it's
we
gonna be,
really
did talk
it's gonna
it to
be
death.
feedback from
Right.
the others and hopefully quickly to,
Right.
So if you want to do the 12th, is that okay with you? We'll do it a little earlier. What time are people available on the 12th earlier than 7? Like, what, 6 you're thinking, or?
Nope.
Yeah, I can do that.
It's got the 6.
6
Six.
minute.
all right,
Okay.
So Wednesday, the 12th at 6 PM. 6. Okay, and the same, we'll do the same set of the going person and with the owl.
And then if we have to leave to go to our district, we'll just leave it. When we need to. I think I'll keep it at 7 then. Right.
And then is it the third?
It's usually the third Thursday, third
Third
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So that would be May 17th
May
would be the.
Okay.
Wednesday, the 12th of April at 6 o'clock.
Yes. Very good. Well, thank you, everybody. We want to adjourn and we can stop recording.
And make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay.
Your roll call. Andrew,
I.
Sam,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Saul, Anna,
Yes.
Yes.
Kelsey, yes, Mitt.
Aye.
Mitt's lagging. Yes, he's so tired, he's lagging. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop recording.